Hey there, YouTubers. Thanks for tuning back into another video. Today, we're going to kind of go back over the blue car, let you know what I found in my off-camera discovery. And we're going to talk about this little white guy behind me, little white EK coupe. So with that being said, let's go ahead and roll the intro and get the party started. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the little blue 2003 Honda Civic is going to be paused temporarily. After my discovery, whenever I made it home the other day after I limped in on the last video, I ended up discovering that the transmission is more than slipping now. My kind of verdict is that the pump's probably malfunctioned. It's making a weird noise. If you recall in the last video, the code that it threw was like a solenoid code. And my theory is that the pumps failed internally. Therefore, it's not circulating fluid, so it doesn't function properly. And on top of it, it wasn't pumping fluid to that solenoid, which in return is why it threw the code. It's probably something that's not necessarily just quit all of a sudden, because you know, we've driven it around for a couple weeks since I've owned it and tagged it, but it's definitely reared its head and showed itself now, so we're gonna fix it. We're in the process of actually locating a transmission, and then Brandon Cooley is gonna stick it in for us so we can get this little puppy back on the road. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna quit talking about the not so pleasurable experience the other day, and we're gonna switch gears today. Today we're gonna talk about this coupe, this 98 Honda Civic coupe that we've picked up, that you're going to have a chance to own. And I say that, and I'm not 100% certain. So I'm toying around with some ideas. I'm going to quit moving here so you guys don't get motion sick. But the idea is that we're going to sell the car at the end. So we're going to build it here on YouTube. We're also going to have an opportunity where you can follow along. And then at the end, we're going to either sell the car or we're potentially going to do a giveaway. I'm not 100% certain on the giveaway side, so don't get your feelings hurt if it doesn't happen, but at some point in time, you'll be able to at least pick it up in one shape or form. So with that being said, today what we're going to do in the video is we're going to walk around the car. We're also going to do a build list. So this car's already got some items that are helping our case. Much like some of the cars you've seen before on the channel, I like to buy cars that have most of the pieces, and then that way I can assemble them and then pass them on to somebody else to enjoy. And then in return, I get to enjoy it too. So let's go ahead and cut the nonsense and let's get right to it. All right, guys, so the car, like I mentioned, is a 1998. It's a Honda Civic. It's a EX. I had to look. It's got a sunroof. It's an EX coupe. So originally this came from Honda with a D16 Y8. This car actually has already been swapped. So it's got a B18 A1 from like a 90 to 93 Integra. It's a non-VTEC platform. And the transmission, I believe, is also an LS or a LS equivalent. So that's going to give us the longer gear ratio. So this is going to be something that you could drive on the highway and it's not going to pull a million RPMs like a B16 would. I've driven the car around a couple times, just kind of checking it out. Runs good, seems healthy. We've got a few items that we plan on tackling right away. So with that being the topic of discussion, we're going to move right into the list. I wanted to start it out here in the cockpit because ultimately these cars are getting harder to find with a decent interior. As you can see above me here, the sun visor and the headliner, you know, they're not in the best of shape. But what I'm talking about is door panels, items like the carpet, the dash trim. You know, these things, a lot of them have had a rough life. This one is actually all here. So with that being the case, let's go ahead and jump right into it. And we're going to start with the interior. So guys, starting here on the left, we've got a dual pillar pod. We've actually already have a working oil pressure gauge, and then it looks like a coolant temp. I don't believe the coolant temp's actually hooked up. I haven't seen it operate, and I haven't found anything on the engine like a sensor. So we're going to actually reuse this spot and pull this little guy out whenever the new items get here. And we'll cover what we're actually going to be putting in the car for parts here in a few minutes. But the car already has the EX cluster. The body has 169,000 miles. The car does not obviously have a radio, or doesn't actually have air conditioning any longer. Whenever this swap was completed, it's got one of the little polished counterweight knobs on it. And I was told that it has innovative shift linkage. And whenever I was driving the car, everything seems real solid. So inside the car here, we've also got a powder-coated valve cover that came with the car. As you can see, this is a OBD1 like A1 style. Typically 90 to 95 is when you would see this type of valve cover. But this one's already powder coated, so that might be an item that we throw in the car here at the end, or we may just clean up the factory one and keep it looking like we always do. So let's move right on over. As you can see here in the end, I'm gonna turn the light on. So guys, over here with the light on, you can see this car is a 98. So this is an OBD2A car, and it's already converted to OBD1. The ECU that I pulled out of this guy was already a PR4. So a PR4 is a 92, 93 LS ECU. So this one's, non-VTEC already, and it's something that we can go ahead and ship for our little turbo project. So inside the car, there's, not a lot of extras, pretty well, simplified. If I can keep my thumb off of the button here, we're going to go ahead and move around the outside, and we'll just walk right around it. So let's start with wheels and suspension, shall we? So first up, we've got a set of 99 2000 EM1 SI wheels. The tires are in great shape. The car is actually lowered on a set of lowering springs. So this is the height that, you get. There is no other adjustment without a change in the suspension. So the body on the car has some dents. It has some dings. The paint is peeling. At a 98 year model, this thing's been repainted. You can see here in the door jamb. You can see here on the mirror. We will be replacing the windshield. The windshield trim is obviously pulled up here, and it's because it's got a crack, if you guys can see that there on camera. There are some dents in the roof. It's not a bad car. It's a 10-footer. There's a crack here in the bumper. And if we move on to the back, this is an SI edition for you that didn't know. Actually, like I said, it's not. But you got the cool emblem. It's got an exhaust on it that's pretty loud. Internally right now, it's actually got an XTD clutch. And we'll talk about what we're doing there in a minute. But the car came to the garage here with a different set of headlights. I'll put a picture in of the car before, like what it actually looked like. These were new. They came with the car. So huge helping hand there. It's got an SI front grille for the 96 bumper. And in the engine bay here, guys, this is a B18 A1. So this one's going to get kind of interesting. So for you that have been around, there's cable transmissions, there's hydraulic transmissions. A lot of that is on the actuation part here. This one, if you can see in the video, is a cable. By that, the car was a hydro. So there's some form of adapter that's been installed here. Not sure exactly the gist of it, just other than what you're seeing is about all I know. So it's got innovative mounts, decent mount sets here. They don't vibrate and carry on, so they're probably a street style bushing. The motor itself seems healthy. It does need the valve lash adjusted. The valves chatter a little bit. But part of the plans here is that we're putting a turbo on it. So in just a minute, I've got pieces and majority of a turbo kit in the trunk we're going to walk through. And those items we will we'll kind of pick up, and I'll let you know what we're going to have to add to what's already here. And then at the very end, I might do a build sheet. Since none of this stuff's really what I chose, I probably won't. We'll just do a final walkthrough. But let's go ahead and go back to it. The car itself was a B18 A1, matching motor, matching trans. It's running the Y8 harness and then converted to OBD1 inside. So there's a few different little things like that cable hydraulic conversion that we mentioned that you know, are a little different, but the transmission itself and everything seems to work fine. One thing that I saw here is the timing belt. The timing belt here is got a little bit of wear on it, and the reason it's got a little bit of wear on it is because, I don't know if you guys can see it at this angle. Can you see it here? So the way that this is set up, it's walking off. The reason it's walking off is there's a guide that goes on the sprocket. Well, it actually goes at the end of the sprocket down there in the very bottom, and it's missing. So that keeps the belt from coming this direction and touching the cover. So we're going to address that. In addition to that, the motor actually has a new head gasket. So factory style head bolts. We're going to go ahead and upgrade those to ARP. And we're going to move into some of the stuff that I've reused or had in my possession to complete the rest of the turbo kit. But before we get to that part, let's go ahead and dive in. All right, boys. The way that this is situated, we've got, I would say, 75% of the pieces, and the other 25% we've already ordered. So inside this box is an intercooler kit. We've used this kit before. It's an RDT engineering kit. We've got 2 cast iron manifold options that support a 38 millimeter wastegate. I'm going to pick up the Speed Daddy wastegate. For you eBay turbo lovers, the way that I usually pick parts is based off of what's worked before. So most of this stuff I didn't pick. The turbo itself seems to be decent, but like the Speed Daddy wastegate, I've used 6 or 7 of these over the last 6 months, and for what they are, for what they cost, they seem to work compared to some of the others. The turbo here shows, you know, kind of some mixed signals. The Chinese spoolie boy here says T3, T4, and a serial number, and then it says AR50, and then over here it says H8. So real fancy stuff. And we're just gonna put it on the car. I might mic it, measure it later for you guys, but we're just gonna send it. Over here on this side, we have enough of a downpipe to get us going. As long as everything kind of matches up here, which I'm thinking's a little peculiar. But anyhow, I'll monkey with that. Sorry, ADD. Over here, we have majority of an oil line kit. We actually have a complete oil line kit. Inside this guy, we've got the rest of the lines. Over here, we have a blow-off valve. It's a Greddy Type S red style. So that means this thing has the flange. And that's pretty much what we've got here as the turbo kit. So what we don't have and what we've ordered is a set of the ARP head studs. We're also going to put a chip kit in the PR4. We're going to use a set of the clean injection 450cc injectors that I've got on hand, so you don't have to order those. And we'll get this light out of the camera. And from that point, the rest of the kit should pretty well bolt on. In addition to that, we ordered a wideband. I'm going to have to pick up a timing belt. I'm going to have to pick up a oil pan gasket. And let's see what else. I'm going to flip over here and I'm going to do a screenshot of the eBay list. And we'll get right back to it. One of the major items that I left off, or that I had kind of not mentioned yet, was a wideband. So the AEM X Series wideband is going to go in the car. So that way it'll be able to be essentially data logged if you were to put a Demon board in it. 450 injectors, Walbro 255 in the tank. We're leaving the stock regulator. Turbo system's going to be pretty well self-sufficient. The Speed Daddy wastegate I've already got. The blow-off valves in the trunk. In terms of, you know, needed items, I think the wastegate actually has an 8-pound spring in it. So I'll make a video on the Harbor Freight or Lowe's hardware store boost controller. We'll build one of these probably for 20 bucks and it'll work just fine. The car is going to be on 93 pump gas. My last B18 made 312 on 12 pounds, and this one's probably shooting for about the same target area. To hold that power, it's already got the XTD clutch in it. It's got a light duty, probably a 19 or 1800 pound pressure plate. We're going ahead and sticking a 2300 pound in it. So that'll be equivalent of like a stage 4. Should hold, 270 foot-pounds of torque. If we make that. Other than that, the windshield I mentioned needs to get scheduled, and then we're off to the races. So some of these items here are going to be delivered later this week. As long as the July 4th holiday doesn't affect those schedules, we should be wrenching on this thing and have another video up of the actual process sometime this weekend. By that being the case, we hope to kind of get the car on the dyno, therefore, soon after. And then just kind of see how it goes. But, like anything else, there's minor setbacks along the way and things that you don't kind of plan on. The head studs, we're not actually going to pull the head. So I'm going to swap them individually one by one. And, you guys will get to see that along the way as well. But the coolest part, in my opinion, of this is that you're going to get a chance to own this one. This one's not somebody else's. I kind of tried to do this in the past. But, I didn't end up keeping the car long enough. It's going to be something that will be fun. Who doesn't like a 300 horsepower, 2,500 pound car? And this one, seems to have all the creature comforts on the inside minus a radio. So with that being the case, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the video there. And if there's any questions, any comments, leave them below. If you guys have, any kind of, pieces that you think may, suit one of my builds here in the future, let me know too. Send me a DM on Instagram, and maybe we can help each other out. But I hope that this one goes off without a hitch, and, we'll catch you in the next one. So like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, and we'll see you guys next time.